Welcome to the Superhero's Journey, episode number 4. It's a podcast where we talk mainly about superhero movies and TV shows, a bit of Star Wars and other things in the genre. My name is Carl Freemerman, and with me is my co-host.
Yes, Brian Shores. That's sticking.
It is. I like it. I'm going with it.
Yeah.
You can find us on Twitter, and please follow us on Twitter as well at Superhero Journey, no E in super, and give us some feedback via email at thesuperheroesjourney@gmail.com, where heroes is plural, not possessive. And this week we have a little special movie villain ranking.
Yes.
Which we're going to do later in the episode, as there's no TV show episodes.
No, not for a few months. I was trying to think if there's anything coming up in the summer, but I don't think
Preacher?
so.
Yeah.
Preacher. Yeah.
Preacher, I think maybe July.
Yeah.
We'll also be talking about Wonder Woman in a separate breakout review we're going to do, discussion. We'll do spoilers on that.
Yeah.
And let's begin this week's episode with a couple little parts, news stories here. We've got, the first one I got here is Pablo Hidalgo, one of the creatives on Lucasfilm Story Group, talked about Supreme Leader Snoke.
Yes.
His humanity, or lack thereof, on Twitter. He did this. Basically saying that he's not human.
Yeah, which, I mean, if you watch The Force Awakens, unless you're looking at him as kind of like a living corpse, you kind of got the impression that he wasn't human, even at that point. Like, if he even started at that, he was pretty far from it.
Right. And they also said something about his name actually being Snoke. It's not like some sort of trick or title or whatnot.
Kind of like Vader is Anakin Skywalker, Palpatine is Sidious. So they're not going that route.
Yeah, which, reading these, I still go, well, he could still be Darth Plagueis, because Darth Plagueis in all the other writings is not human. He's some alien race.
And also, Plagueis wasn't his real name. That was his assumed name.
Exactly.
I still think that it would be super lame if it was Plagueis.
Lame? Why would it be lame?
Because I feel like it's moved so far away from what it was. I don't want it to be that it's any more rehashing. I love The Force Awakens, and it was very much like an homage to A New Hope, which I thought was great. It was the fan service that I think they needed to do. But now I want to see a departure, which I think, Rian Johnson, for whatever people view of his movies, I think he's a good choice for that, to take it separate. But I'd like to see it move away from the Sith, and I kind of like the Jedi, maybe evolving into something else.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't. I guess I don't believe he's going to be Plagueis at this point.
Yeah,
it's still a dream of mine. Because as much as I don't like the prequels, I think it would be a cool thing that would tie it back to the one prequel that people would say is the best one, and one of the more interesting, little backstory moments that is given in that movie, with the explanation of Darth Plagueis by Sidious, right? Palpatine.
I did there was one thing that I always kind of did hope that they would make canon with the prequels with Plagueis, is because in the novels, which is now Legends, is no longer canon. I forget the name of the race, but it's the race that had the banking clan, the ones that were kind of bankrolling the separatist movement.
Okay.
And you see him in Attack of the Clones. There's a guy, he's got this mush head, it's really long, and he's like, the banking clan will sign your treaty. I think there was a little fan speculation after they announced what race Plagueis was, that was Plagueis, and that was just showing that he was in tandem with Palpatine and Dooku, that he was doing that. I kind of always hoped that they would say, hey, that was Plagueis, he's dead now, whatever.
Yeah, but the whole idea is that he had found a way to circumvent death.
Well, not very well, because,
Palpatine killed him. But that's the thing. That's why I would think it would be great, because to bring him back would to say that, no, he did succeed. Palpatine thought he killed him, and he used this sort of as a way to avoid him knowing where he was. He didn't want to have to deal with Palpatine again. Yeah. So maybe he just waited it all out until he was gone.
Yeah.
it would. I think it would work too with the idea of not having the Sith anymore, because I could see him as maybe he was a Sith, but after the events of what happened with Palpatine, he would look at it like this whole Rule 2 thing, like it is not working. We can't do this anymore.
Yeah,
it would be a good direction to go. But who knows where they go? My idea that I don't know that where we're going to get this other random, really powerful Force user.
Yeah, well,
that's why Plagueis seems to work, because it would make sense for him to be a powerful Force user.
Well, what I thought would be kind of cool, and I sincerely doubt this is the direction that they're going to go in, is if Snoke was actually working with Luke to restart the Jedi, and then they realize, okay, what they said in the last trailer, like the Jedi must end, and Luke's like, okay, so we're gonna just go for more middle of the ground, and he's like, you know what? I think there's a lot of positive things that can be done with the dark side, obviously with better dialogue than that, and he goes off and he's like, you know what, kid, why don't you go kill all your uncle's students? I think that would be a much more interesting route to go. Have him possibly be maybe like a founder of the Church of the Force, which was mentioned in The Force Awakens as kind of like a throwaway that I think it might be.
And we did have more on that in Rogue One, where the characters were the defenders of
the Guardians of the Wills.
So like maybe they could tie it into some of that. That would be fine. Yeah, I'm confident that they're gonna do a good job with it.
Oh yeah,
and I just want to know more about this character. I want to be impressed by this character. I want to like this villain. We need a good villain, and of course, I do think that Kylo Ren is a good villain already.
Oh yeah,
but this guy exists, and he needs to be more interesting than I think the Emperor was.
Yeah.
In the original trilogy, who was fine but never really had a lot to do.
Yeah, I don't know. Because it was one of the things that I think has kind of been lacking in Star Wars, and I genuinely do love Star Wars, and I don't think their villains are nearly as strong or as interesting as their heroes. I'll say in the movies proper, because in the Clone Wars, I think, and later in Rebels, I think they've done a really good job with fleshing out like Darth Maul and what they're doing with Thrawn in Rebels. I think that's the direction that they should go in the movies with the villains, is actually making them feel more substantial. I actually see General Hux with Snoke as more so the villain than Kylo Ren, because Kylo Ren, you still see so much conflict in him.
Yeah.
So I don't see him so much as a villain, so much as like the guard dog that Vader was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm all just very curious about how they're going to explain his knowledge of the Force, his use of the Force. And maybe he is something along the lines of a different thing. Like maybe they had those. They had them in Rebels and more in Clone Wars series. The one that brought back Darth Maul.
The Night Sisters.
Night Sisters, yeah, they were almost sort of like mystic, like Force user, like magicians or wizards, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, because they also had the Wills in the Clone Wars, and that was a really fun arc that they did with Yoda. Yeah, go and find them. They brought back,
because it would make sense that why does it have to be only the Jedi and Sith orders are the only ones who have ever used the Force for anything? That wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. I don't think it's ever been specifically stated that Snoke is a Force user.
Yeah, but he has to be.
I mean, he should be, but
how's he going to train Kylo Ren in anything? What's he going to train him in?
I mean,
diplomacy.
He could just be really studied up and understanding the Force, and maybe maybe that's his motivation, is he always wanted to be a Jedi or a Sith, and he's purposefully using Ben Solo against Luke because it's something that he can never have and something he could never be.
I mean, that would be a stretch. I don't know how would he have even influenced Ben Solo that much, or Kylo Ren. I don't know.
I think because it could just be as simple, like just taking advantage of, just seeing the conflict in him and taking advantage of that, and just like weighing on the whole, like, I can understand what it's like to have parents that have never cared about you, but I'll look out for you more than, your parents or your uncle ever did. Just
Yeah, I'd be like, it's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe it, nor do I want it.
Just you wait till episode 9.
Episode 9?
Yeah.
All right. We'll see.
We got 3 more years.
3 more years. Yeah. It's fun. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Later this year. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I want to see another trailer. I want to see more because that trailer was a little underwhelming. We talked about this already,
Yeah.
but I want to see other things that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
Show us more Snoke actually, because
I think the next trailer is...
We know who he is already, and we've seen him before. So give us a little more of that.
Yeah, I think the next trailer is probably gonna come out around sometime between Comic-Con and D23, and I have a feeling it's gonna show more stuff, and then as it gets closer, we're gonna hear a lot more stuff, like, because we're gonna do it. There's gonna be another Force Friday where they release all the toys, and we're gonna start getting a lot more stuff of that. There's gonna be the Journey to the Last Jedi books that are gonna come out like they did with the Force Awakens, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna get a slow trickle out. I still really do enjoy that first teaser because I see it as a sequel to the first teaser for The Force Awakens. And I hope they do the same thing with whatever the episode 9 is going to be called.
Yeah, I could see them doing that. They're definitely keen to that whole marketing synergy and strategy. So.
Yeah, because if you remember, and then we can get off this topic and move along, but if you remember for The Force Awakens, I think they only put out like 3 trailers and then like a bunch of TV spots that had a little more.
Right.
But that was it. They didn't do any other marketing of any kind. They left all of the marketing to like the side stuff, like food tie-ins and toys and all that stuff. They let like Hasbro deal with almost all of their marketing, the Target tie-ins and stuff like that. So Disney's being really smart about how they're handling it with spending very little comparatively on marketing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was smart for that movie. There was a lot of secrecy behind what was going to happen in this movie that they didn't want getting out. So that was definitely the way to go. This one maybe not as much because it's a sequel to movies already seen, so there's already speculation as to what could happen in it. But there is obviously a lot of mystery. We have no idea. So I think they might take a slightly different approach, but probably mostly the same.
Yeah,
because it speaks for itself. Star Wars at this point, it doesn't need to be. You don't need to be told to go watch a Star Wars movie. You're just gonna go.
Like they could just announce today once. They could just throw it up on Twitter for a half hour and take it down, saying, "By the way, we're releasing episode 8 on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday." That could be their entire advertising. Just one tweet that they take down after a half hour, and that movie is still going to set a record. Like, I mean, it's true. Like, it's it has the draw.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right, let's move on to this just little bit of casting news potentially for New Mutants movie. We have Charlie Heaton from Stranger Things in talks to play Sam Guthrie, also known as Cannonball. Mm-hmm. He was kind of the lead, like, younger guy in that.
Yeah, he was Will Byers' older brother. He was probably like I would say he's probably, if you group all the main kids together, he's probably like the second or third lead.
Yeah, he's the lead, like,
he's the lead supporting
like
character,
teen adult, like not kid character, or I guess adult, in that in between range. Because there was the sheriff was also one of the leads. There's a lot of lead characters in that, but
it was a well handled ensemble cast. I'll say, but I liked him in that, and I think from what I saw in Stranger Things, I think he actually could do a good job as Sam Guthrie.
Yeah, I think he looks the part. I liked him in that show.
I hope he affects an accent, because Sam Guthrie is supposed to be from like a mining town in Kentucky, so I want him to have some...
Yeah, you can probably pull that off.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a deal breaker. It's still going to be fun to see him like fly around and like slam into stuff, but
it's interesting how Stranger Things somehow it's really blown up into like one of those situations where movies and things are looking at the actors from that and just grabbing them up.
Yeah,
like the girl, what's her name,
Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah, she's in talks. She apparently was she got to what's the word to look for Logan. She read, or she tried out for
the Laura.
X-23, which is interesting that, surprised she didn't get it, but of course she might have been another good choice if they went that way. And then she also got a role in something, I forgot what it was recently. It might be the Godzilla thing, Godzilla 2. I think she's somewhere in there.
Sure.
Yeah. And then the sheriff is going to be Hellboy. So and now this guy could be New Mutants. So they're snatching him up for all these genre movies.
Retroactively cast Winona Ryder in Beetlejuice. They just knew she was going to eventually be in Stranger Things. Like, this is going to be a great tie-in.
She was actually my least favorite part of that.
She was my least favorite, but I really enjoyed her character. Like, I think she did a great job with the character. I just wasn't as interested in the character as I was with most everything else.
Yeah, no, I liked the role for her character. It's just her as an actress. Like, she just has that specific voice in a way that it just doesn't work for me. I don't know why. That's just how it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I still think Stranger Things. I don't know if I would. It was definitely good. It was incredibly well written, acted, and produced. It was it was really compelling. But I think the thing that I latched onto the most was because same thing with you. Like, we were kids that grew up in the 80s,
right? And
it was so very much kids growing up in the 80s. Like, I had a friend down the street, and we had walkie-talkies.
I never did that, but
yeah,
definitely rode my bikes around town with my friends, and I definitely played D&D with my friends when I was a kid.
Yeah, I never played D&D, but other board games and stuff like that, and just being like a nerdy kid, and we didn't have an AV club in my school, but we had the stage crew, which was essentially the same thing. So it was very relatable, and I think that was handled incredibly well. So that's what I enjoyed with it, and as a huge Ghostbusters fan, I'm really looking forward to the quick clip and the new season
when are we getting that?
October, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's October.
Because the other one was like a big summer hit. Like, I remember when I went home to visit family, and I just binge watched the hell out of that summer.
Yeah, I was a latecomer to that. I don't think I watched it for like a month or two after it came out, just because I was like, I don't really know about this, but I think it was Joel was the one who was like, no, you really have to watch it.
Huge breakout. Like, everyone was talking about it immediately. I saw stuff about it, and I was like, let me check this out. And I watched the first episode. I'm like, I gotta watch more. I just can't stop. I watched several episodes late into the night with my fiance. We both loved it.
Yeah, I remember, like, after watching it, like, telling a lot of people, I'm like, you have to watch this. It's like if John Carpenter was directing a miniseries based off of a book by Stephen King from the 80s. Like, it's awesome. You have to watch it.
And it felt like it was made in that era as well.
Yeah. No, it was...
in a good way, not in a bad way. In the best way you can imagine that.
Yeah. No, I think everything with that was a whole series of smart decisions, that got us to that.
All right, let's move on to, we have a couple, actually, some news of the villains for Supergirl and...
Well, we did... Oh, wait.
What's that?
There were the two other castings for New Mutants.
Oh, right, yeah. Bring this up.
Just really quick. I got to open my notes, because I was...
Brian actually has notes this time.
I actually had notes, because I knew there was no way that I was going to remember these. Just really quick, because I have not watched either of the things that these two people are from. I have looked, and they look like they're decent for the role, but they have cast Sunspot. It's a kid named Henry Zaga from 13 Reasons Why, another Netflix show. And then Blue Hunt is an actress who will be playing Moonstar. She's from the CW show The Originals, which I think that's the spin-off of Vampire Diaries, I think.
Yeah, both successful projects. I mean, of course, I didn't watch either of these. 13 Reasons Why, I saw like a bit of one episode.
Nothing about it really appealed to me.
Although for some reason it's really popular.
Yeah, I think we're above the age group that it's marketing to.
Yeah, it definitely looks like something that would have been on MTV if Netflix wasn't around.
Yeah. So.
And the Originals, I don't watch those vampire type things on CW. They're not for me. Again, not that different age range, but not to say that there isn't talent on there. So
yeah, I mean, I can't speak to the Originals for the original Vampire Diaries, there's enough cast in there where I recognize some of the names. I know that they're interesting people that can do good in certain roles. I don't know. I'm not a big like vampire.
It is CW,
fan.
so
it is CW.
This is a lot of like soap opera-y actors.
And it came
very
out,
very pretty people who aren't really picked for their necessary acting ability.
Yeah, and it did come on the tails of Twilight too.
Right.
So there was just a lot that kept me from watching it.
Yeah, no,
I think I watched the first episode because it premiered like right around. I think it was like after, it was either after Supernatural or Smallville or something like that. So I'm like, I'll just check it out, and I didn't really get much past.
Yeah, I never gave it a chance. And then when the originals was a thing, I remember Research Announced. I looked into it. And I'm like, oh, what is this? This looks like it could be cool. And it's like, oh, it's a spinoff of Vampire Diaries. I'm like, nope, not for me.
Yeah, sorry, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the better CW shows.
Yes.
Supergirl, we've got this is actually really interesting. I was very excited about this.
Yeah, I most definitely grew an interest on this.
Yeah, the villain for season 3 has been cast, and it's a woman named Odette Annabelle, and she's going to be playing a character called Rain, who is obviously the child that we see in the end of season 2, and she is called a world killer. She's a biological weapon created on Krypton by Zor-El, Kara's father.
Yeah, which... Yeah, I think that's a really great route to go. Because Supergirl she's such a tough character to write, to find unless you're going to go like the Lex Luthor route, like it's hard to find like a villain that she can't just like beat by punching.
Yeah, but this is, what's cool about this is really a villain of her own. I mean, because we've had... All the villains are really pulled from other characters in most ways.
Yeah.
You know, like Max Lord isn't really a Supergirl villain.
No.
This last season was
Mom-El.
Who I don't even know. Is that even a character in the comics? I have no idea.
I didn't even bother checking that out. It is...
But this character is, it's a female supervillain. She's, doesn't really look human per se. I imagine we'll get some sort of alien like prosthetic stuff that we're getting. Nothing too wildly non-human.
I have a feeling there's going to be like some kind of transformation where she goes back and forth from like a human form to an alien looking form.
I don't necessarily believe that, but it could happen. I mean, look, because if we get something like, what's her name, Kira? No, that's not her name. Wynn's girlfriend.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wynn's girlfriend.
Wynn's girlfriend.
Hot alien girl.
Yeah, right. Hot alien girl. But the way they do her little facial like prosthetic thing looks really great, and something along that line would be fine. All she needs to be is an alien. But if she is, I guess. I don't know if she's Kryptonian. They created her. So she's very much like Doomsday, which is what we speculated. Yeah. It was something like that. So she is almost a female Doomsday in a lot of ways, but
I am afraid that they're going to go the Smallville route, where it's going to be like the human that turns into Doomsday that they did, where they cast Sam Witwer to play the paramedic who at night like turns into Doomsday. I'm kind of afraid they're going to go that route.
That's awful. No, it's not happening, Brian.
I hope not.
No, this sounds like a major villain for could be the whole season possibly, and maybe she comes as in between friend foe. We're not sure at times. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I am a big fan of the actress though. She was on.
I don't know her.
She was on a show that I really, really loved that only got 2 seasons. That
can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, no, it's called Breaking In. Never
heard of it.
Yeah. It's Adam F. Goldberg, the guy who created the Goldbergs. It was a show he did on Fox for 2 seasons. If anyone was a fan of Community, you would love this show because it's basically like the nerdy show without trying to be nerdy. It's like the difference between like Community being like a super nerdy show versus like Big Bang Theory, which is a show about nerds. Like it's every episode. They did an entire episode where they created like this statue, and it's just like this silver statue, and they did it all just so that they could get to the visual pun of the end of Terminator 2, where like he does the thumbs up as it's going into like the molten metal. It makes perfect sense in context to the episode. But she was on that. She was on House for the last season.
Okay.
Or possibly the last 2 seasons. Yeah. But she's really compelling. She's a very, interesting actress. There's a lot she can do.
Apparently she uses a sword in combat in the comics.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get some of that, I imagine. I want to see some good action. We got some great action in Supergirl. A lot of times we've had some really good action sequences. The Superman-Supergirl fight was fantastic.
Yeah.
If anybody hasn't seen that, I would recommend watching it.
I guarantee you can just find the isolated clip on YouTube, but watch the whole episode.
Yeah, definitely worth it.
Yeah.
And then we've got a little news, no casting, but for the villain for Flash next season is going to be, what's his name? You go for it.
It's either, I think they pronounce it in the show DeVos. He's the thinker.
I think it was DeVoe.
Was it DeVoe?
Yeah.
Okay. It's whatever. It's DEVOS. So say it however you want.
Okay, maybe.
But yeah, he's basically a superpower telepath, which I cannot express how excited I am that they're not doing another Speedster.
Right. Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah.
We got
too
many of that.
Yeah, and this is brilliant because it's really the only, like, a telepath is really like the only other, kind of villain that could take on like a Speedster.
Now, is he just a telepath like Professor X, or is he also telekinetic like Jean Grey?
I don't think he's telekinetic. I think he possibly might. Depending on the version, I think at one point he was a technopath in the comics. So it's not a character I'm totally familiar with. I do know that he was created back in, I think it was the 40s. He was a Jay Garrick Flash, the original Flash villain.
Okay.
And he's evolved. And I did read that they were going to base this off of a somewhat recent Jeff Johns run while he was writing for Wally West.
Okay.
So I'm excited.
If that's true, plays into my theory.
You might get what you want. You might get a season without Barry.
A season with no Barry.
It's not going to happen.
Wally West is the main hero for this season, and we've got the Thinker as his villain.
Yeah.
For this, I'd go with that.
Yeah. I just think that Cisco could come up with a better name for this guy than the Thinker.
Yeah, I feel like, though he might need some telekinetic power because that would really help stop a Speedster.
Yeah.
Because
not really.
It doesn't matter how fast you are. If I can move you with my mind, you can't run.
Well, all he has to do is take over his mind.
That's true too. Will we do that? That's another problem you would run into that character. Is, okay, the whole show is he just going to take over his mind every time he encounters him?
Well, what if they do this? Because I think this would satisfy what you wanted and what's actually going to happen. Because let's face it, they're not going to do an entire season without Barry.
They are. It's happening.
Yeah, whatever, Carl. But for the entire season, the Thinker takes over Barry's mind and possesses him, and Barry's the villain.
No, we just had Barry as the villain.
Unacceptable. He basically uses Barry as the weapon. It could be cool.
Sure, he could use anybody as the
weapon. If only you guys could have seen the expression on Carl's face.
Okay, let's move on.
Look, it's going to be good no matter what.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Flash is to me what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is to you. It can turn into complete and utter garbage, and I will still love it.
No, because S.H.I.E.L.D. has never turned into any sort of garbage.
It really did.
It started off weak, and it always got better.
No,
always.
I completely disagree. It started out really strong, and it just got worse.
It started off strong. That is definitely not the general consensus for S.H.I.E.L.D. Everyone definitely says that the beginning of that show was very weak. And once they got to the events of the Winter Soldier, changed out the dynamic of the show and made it far better.
I will tell you this. I actually, because there's no superhero shows going on, so I'm not watching that much on the TV right now. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna jump on Netflix. I'm gonna try and see if I can pick up where I left off.
Yes.
2 episodes, and I couldn't do it.
What? Where did you watch?
I'm like, it was halfway through the season before last. I picked up right from the episode where Coulson goes to that other planet to save Fitz from Ward, and get that guy Will, who was already dead. And
that was cool. That was a cool episode.
It was so bad. There was nothing interesting. It was awesome when Coulson, spoilers, kills Ward, because because that was a great scene. He turned on the team, and I was like, that's awesome. And then turns out that Ward's back, possessed by this alien thing.
Yeah, but it's not Ward anymore.
But for no reason. There's literally no reason why they could have come back, because the entire structure on Earth was destroyed. Coulson and Fitz got out at the last second. It made no logical sense as to whatsoever, because at that point, why couldn't this thing have just come to Earth whenever it felt like?
Yeah, I honestly don't remember the explanation as to how he still got there.
They don't give one.
Yeah,
it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, still okay, but I still enjoyed Ward again as this different character, because I like that actor. He's like, I hated him in the beginning of season 1. Once you found out that he was actually secretly a bad guy, I was like, this is so much better, and I enjoyed his character.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the team dynamic in the original, in the first season. I liked that it was so many, with the exception of like Fitz and Simmons and Coulson and May, who they all had individually a history together. I enjoyed watching them come together as a team. And then it just got too big too fast. Yeah. And I think they celebrated getting a budget because they were successful, and they're like, well, let's tie into everything. And I think there's a lot of stuff they could have done that was really cool. I really liked the character Trip, which they killed way too quickly.
I barely remember him at this point.
He was a really cool character. I think him and Coulson could have had like a really cool arc where they do like really old school, like comic booky spy stuff. Because Trip, he was the grandson of one of the Howling Commandos.
Yeah. I imagine like he must have gotten cast something else, and then they had Mac take a bigger role. Yeah. And Mac, well, I like Mac now, but those characters I don't really remember that well early on. Yeah. But I don't know. Let's move on, because we're getting in the weeds on this. Yeah. No. What do we got here? We got a director for the Godzilla vs. King Kong movie. Yeah. Some guy named
some
guy named Adam Wingard.
Yeah.
Director of such fantastic movies as Blair Witch, the most recent you call remake, reboot, whatever that nobody saw. Yeah. And some other horror thriller movies. Yeah. Strange choice. This movie's coming out on May 22nd, 2020.
Yeah. I mean, it could be good. I don't really like a lot of the direction that the movies have been, that those I don't know what you want to call them, kaiju movies.
Kaiju,
yeah. I guess kaiju movies have been taking, where obviously, like, I think it would be great to do, focus on character, because I really do love a movie with a strong like engaging character. But also, show me Godzilla more than 5 minutes of the movie.
For sure. Well, that Godzilla movie did not have strong characters. Yeah. And it didn't show us enough Godzilla. Yeah. Well, when we got it, it was awesome. So, and then you had King Kong, Skull Island, which again didn't have strong characters. Yeah. They were passable characters. They were fine, but we just didn't enough of them. But the action with King Kong, we got plenty of that. And it was worth seeing for that. Yeah,
it was fun. It was that movie I would definitely describe as the definition of a popcorn movie.
For sure. Yeah.
Where like you go, don't expect anything, just have fun while you're sitting there for those 2 hours, and leave, and just only remember how much you enjoyed those 2 hours. Don't question anything about the story. Don't question anything about the characters.
Yeah, definitely.
And you'll enjoy the 2 hours. It was super fun like that. Overall, I don't know if I'd say it was a good movie, but it was super fun in the moment.
It was enjoyable. Like I consider it good because I could watch it again, and I'd still be entertained.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I've never felt compelled that I need to see it a second time. But
Well, yeah, I probably won't. But
yeah,
you know, if it was on, you know, it'd be fine. It's not like like Pacific Rim ranks higher than all these movies because I really enjoy watching that movie. It's a blast for me. The action is fantastic. And the characters are more interesting, with the exception of the leads,
Charlie Hunnam,
who are not good in that movie. But all the other side characters are good. Like the two scientist guys, I enjoy their little dynamic. Hellboy's.
Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman's role in it was pretty good. Idris Elba was very good in it for what he had his part.
I don't know, because it took me forever to figure out what it was about that movie that I could not stand. Because, and Carl knows this about me, I really did not like that movie. I've watched it twice now.
Don't get it.
The first time I watched
Giant robots.
I couldn't.
Tons of fun.
The first time
Fighting monsters. Sorry.
The first time I watched it, I'm like, this is terrible. I dreaded it. Every consecutive minute of it. I'm like, oh, what are they gonna do? This is so boring. You know, and Carl's actually, you know, the person who pointed out to me and what it is that Charlie Hunnam is the least engaging, least interesting leading man that Hollywood has.
Absolutely.
And it's 100%
obviously
true.
why that other movie King Arthur totally bombed.
Yeah. I mean, he's just not interesting. He was, you know, and I'm even going back to, I never watched Queer as Folk, the original British one, which he was on, but you know, Undeclared.
Probably never watched Sons of Anarchy.
Sons of Anarchy I've never been interested to see, even though, again, you know, it's Ron Perlman, and I really enjoy Ron Perlman.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just something about Charlie Hunnam that I don't find interesting at all. And also, and because of that, I started nitpicking. I'm like, there's no reason why a fist from this robot has any more impact than a missile.
Yeah, all right. Let's not get into that. All right.
No, that movie made me ask that question. Okay, that movie did that to
right.
itself.
There's never a practical reason ever to make giant robots to fight anything. Okay.
Yeah.
But you're gonna squash my fantasy of giant robots forever just because you think that a missile is more effective.
Yeah. But I will say this. I am looking forward to the sequel because Charlie Hunnam is not in it, and John Boyega is.
Exactly.
And
John
I really, really like John Boyega.
He's far better.
Going back to Attack the Block.
Yeah, really good in
to
Attack
Star
the Block.
Wars. Yeah, he's. You know, I didn't watch The Circle because I just didn't have any interest in it. But
didn't get good reviews. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't care about reviews. That'll come in the Wonder Woman.
Yeah, right.
Our Wonder Woman review, which is weird that I'll be reviewing something when I genuinely do not care about other people's. But whatever.
I hope you people care about reviews.
Yes, please.
When we talk about
these
movies and review them,
yeah.
I care about reviews in some ways. They're not definitive. They don't decide your opinion for you, but they are a tool that you can use to help you decide how much you want to see a movie or what the general consensus is.
I will tell you this though, I truly believe that you reading those reviews ruined Wonder Woman for you. I think you would have found it slightly more entertaining.
I don't think so, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that later. Reviews. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say because it's hard. It's
all opinion.
It will influence you in some ways sometimes.
Yeah.
But there are times where, I disagree with a lot of reviews, I often agree with the general consensus, but a lot of times I heavily disagree with some movies that are really panned or highly praised.
Yeah, with me, what I realize is that somebody's going to review a movie as a whole, but all I personally need in a movie is to find one aspect of it that I can relate to or attach onto, and then I'll enjoy the movie because that'll be my entry point into it, and I can then understand the rest of it and enjoy it. As long as I hit that, that's all I care about.
Yeah. One of the things I brought up briefly before about rewatchability or just a desire to want to see it again really, really defines how much you thought a movie was good.
Yeah.
Because if you can go and say I will never watch that movie again, or I don't ever care to watch it. You know, it's all that varying level. Like, if it was on again, would you be interested? You know, yeah, okay, then that probably means it's good. Or if you would definitely like, yes, I want to go absolutely see this again, then obviously it's a great movie.
Yeah.
To you, you know.
I think there's only two movies that I can think of that I have ever watched and thought I will never watch this again. That's The Island of Dr. Moreau and Austin Powers Goldmember.
Yeah. I don't remember Goldmember that well, but
I walked out.
Definitely didn't want to go watch it again.
There was a power failure in the theater that knocked it out for a minute, and I just left. I did not go back.
I rarely walk out of movies. Suicide Squad was one of them.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't pay for it, so
yeah.
That helped my decision. Like, I usually stay through movies just because I paid for it.
If you're investing like $10 to $20 to go see a movie.
Right. There were two other movies that I could definitely tell you that I wanted to walk out of. And that's Elektra and The Whole 10 Yards. By far,
definitely
one of the worst movies you can ever watch.
I will
avoid it at all costs.
Those are two movies I did not watch in the theater, but I did not finish watching them at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Catwoman, I didn't see that in theaters, but I did see that on a plane. And I thoroughly enjoyed laughing at that movie.
God, how do you unintentionally allow them to make Halle Berry not attractive?
Yeah, right.
You make her be half naked in the movie, and somehow every aspect of it is a complete turnoff. I don't get that.
You know, it's funny bringing up Wonder Woman. I'm sorry, Elektra and Catwoman in context with Wonder Woman. Those movies are obviously really bad examples of female-led superhero movies. Worse than Wonder Woman. There's no debate about that.
Yeah, no.
But better lead actresses in both of those movies.
Yeah.
So go figure.
Yeah.
You know, it's obviously about budget. Like, that's the thing. And I don't want to get too much. Maybe we'll talk about that more in Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
But clearly, Wonder Woman is a far better movie just because they spent a ton more money on it. That's there's no question to me about that, because Elektra and Catwoman are bad movies, but they're low budget movies, and that's a huge reason as to why they're not good.
I'll say this, and then we can stop and we'll discuss that later in the review. But I disagree with the budget thing, because, like, obviously with the budget you get, you're able to get someone like Chris Pine. But if you plug Chris Pine in, and
it's a Catwoman, you probably have a better movie.
Yeah, because it's because you get somebody who's really compelling and charismatic, and relatable and fun and likable, and that's just going to make the movie better. And
so you're making my point for me. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm not arguing with you.
Because
but what I mean is, I don't think it's a budget thing. I think it's casting, because I think if you offered Chris Pine a role in either of those movies at that point in time, he might have been 12, but he would have taken the role.
But you see, also bigger budget means better casting director, right?
Yes and no.
Better director. Better
hey,
production company, essentially. Like, everything around the movie is better.
No, because this had a huge budget, and we still got Gal Gadot.
Well, that was determined by Zack Snyder a while ago.
Yeah, from a movie that had an even bigger budget.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't, that's the same thing with Megan Fox and Transformers. Like, you can't.
No, that's different. Yeah. Gal Gadot, I guarantee that, and God, we're really staying on this topic. Gal Gadot, I guarantee, I 100% believe, and this just goes to reinforce what we've been saying all along, is that Zack Snyder isn't about content. It's about quality of image. And I think he's looking at the visuals, because she looks incredible as Wonder Woman. She looks like she's right off the page. And I'm not objectifying her. I'm saying they are able to make her look to be exactly like what Wonder Woman should look like. I think the visual of her in that suit as that character is incredible. Her acting as that, I think, is a completely different story.
Yeah, and we'll get into that in the review. I'm not going to touch any more on that.
Yeah, let's get off the topic,
because we will
not shut up.
We were somehow talking about Godzilla versus King Kong and its director, and this is where we ended up. But
because this is clearly the topic we're much more passionate about.
Exactly. Really quickly, just to get back on that, that's not the next movie. There is a Godzilla sequel coming out next, and back onto that movie. that I guess that whole franchise, the Legendary Pictures, has a writers' room on this movie that consists of a co-writer, Terry Rossio from Pirates of the Caribbean franchise,
of course,
at the head.
Yeah.
Not a good start.
Nope.
And then also someone, Jack Paglin from Transcendence.
Of course.
Patrick McKay and J.D. Payne from Star Trek Beyond.
Okay.
We're getting a little better.
Yep.
T.S. Nolan from Maze Runner.
Nah.
J. Michael Straczynski. Yeah.
From Babylon
5.
Okay.
That might be a good thing. Maybe.
It's like
I didn't watch the show.
It's like every other. Well, he's done a whole bunch of comics, and taking us back to our childhood, he wrote a whole bunch of episodes of the real Ghostbusters cartoon.
Oh, okay. And then we have Lindsay Beer from Dungeons and Dragons. And
I would be happier if it was Lindsay Buckingham.
Yeah, if you had anything to do with that movie, you should never mention that ever.
Oh God, no.
And some Cat Vasco from Girl Scouts, 2 R's, no L. Whatever that movie is. Who cares?
What?
Who cares? Move on.
Yeah.
Okay. Next thing we got here is Batman and Harley Quinn trailer. This is an animated feature, another DC animated feature. This one looks like the original
the
Batman animated series. It does not have the original
Arlene
actress.
Sorkin as Harley Quinn.
Yeah. And that really, really shows and bothers me in this trailer.
It is so jarring.
Yeah.
Because you have, and that was, this is something that I know Carl's going to roll his eyes at because it's something that I've been saying since the very first Suicide Squad trailer. That voice is so iconic to Harley Quinn. That's like I need that voice to go along with that character.
Agree, yeah. Now, as much as I didn't like Suicide Squad, I would say that Margot Robbie did a good job with that character, and the voice was different, but it didn't bother me because that version of the character was a close enough representation. And she did a good enough voice. Yeah. But if you're going to do the animated thing, if you're going to do the same animated style look of the show, you change the actress. And you get someone or the voice actress, who's just really not doing it well, in my opinion. I didn't like this. It's not working for me. Yeah,
they recast it because it was originally Arlene Sorkin. Then Tara Strong took it over the past few years.
I'd accept either of them, to be honest.
I think Tara Strong is... one of the most talented voice actresses out there.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoy whenever she shows up in something. Her and E.G. Daily, I love all the voices they do. And
when you're gonna go and do a movie that's Batman and Harley Quinn, she is the lead of this, and you're not gonna get one of the premier voice actresses for this character. That's a huge red flag to this.
Yeah, and they replace her with Melissa Rauch, who, if you guys don't know, she plays Bernadette on Big Bang Theory, which she's basically doing the voice of Bernadette from the Big Bang Theory. And I can't wrap my mind around this, because there's no way that... Because I know we were discussing earlier that it might have been a budget thing. There's no way that she costs less than Tara Strong. She's on one of the highest rated sitcoms. It's going to its 10th season.
Yeah, I'm curious
because they're getting Friends. They're getting Friends budgets where I think the main cast getting $1 million an episode, and the secondary cast, which I think she's on, is probably I think getting $500,000 an episode.
But if I had to guess, I would say
more power to him.
Tara Strong would cost more just because, in the context of voice acting, the voice acting world, she's a hot commodity. Whereas this actress is not, and she is being paid well for one particular show, but you don't see her in anything else anywhere.
Yeah.
So, budget, I think, is a huge issue, and it is a big issue with these, because these DC animated movies, while some of them are good, the animation quality is really painful and suffers a lot.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's really sad to see that you can make a feature-length animated movie with weaker animation quality or comparable to something that you see on TV, TV series.
I don't know, because it seems like they're aping the not the art style, but the animation quality of anime, where it's 5 frames a second or 8 frames a second, whatever it is. Whereas 24 or 30 frames or even 12 frames is going to be much smoother animation. That's very jarring. This, at least, it looks like, the Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, so it's the style. Which is good.
And they still, and they were able to get Kevin Conroy back to do Batman, and I'm gonna get his name wrong, but the guy who did Nightwing and Dick Grayson from the original series, he's back doing it. But the two female leads from, because you have Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn, they replaced them.
Yeah,
which makes no sense.
Which
I think Padgett Brewster sounds fine as.
Poison Ivy never had an. Is that who you were gonna say?
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't have a iconic voice in any way. When you have an iconic voice, you have to deal with it. And this is why I never really bothered with Batman changing his voice actor, because Batman doesn't have an iconic voice. He never has.
Here's where I'll disagree with you. Because I grew up watching Batman the animated series, as I'm sure you did. Yeah. I genuinely loved it. When I'm reading a Batman comic or a comic with Batman in it, that's the voice I hear in my head, is the Kevin Conroy.
Yeah,
it's the same way as I have Christopher Reeve's voice in my head if I'm reading a Superman comic.
Yeah, and I mean, now he is the best, and I agree, that makes sense. But I don't think that it's such a thing that everyone would say the same. Like, everyone might be like, oh, when I picture Batman, I picture,
you're probably going to get a lot of Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, I picture his voice or his portrayal, or
I don't think
Michael Keaton's.
I don't think anybody is going to argue that the Christian Bale voice is better than.
Well, definitely not the Batman voice, right? But his portrayal as Bruce Wayne, I really liked a lot.
Yeah, he was a good Bruce Wayne. He was a good Batman. Yeah. The voice, I wish, evolved over the 3 movies.
Yeah,
I think it would have been fine if it sounded as poor as it did in the first movie. If by the 3rd movie it was just a deep, gravelly voice, or he did the voice changer that they did in Batman vs Superman, which, by the way, I was totally cool with.
Yeah, but back to this trailer.
Yes.
It's a clear cash in on the popularity of Harley Quinn as a character right now.
Yeah.
Because the plot of this is really the plot of a random animated series episode.
Yeah, this could have been done in 22 minutes.
Right, because she is going to team up with Batman because Poison Ivy is teaming up with what's this guy's name again? Plant Man, or his other
floral, weird... the floration...
Plutonic Man. Oh,
the Floronic Man. That's it, the Floronic Man. Jason Woodrow.
Yeah.
Plantmaster, Floro, and the Cedar are also
he's just an evil dryad. He's evil Swamp Thing in some way, but he's an alien sort of from
another Earth.
Yeah.
Where he can control plants.
Which I imagine in this version they won't go into that at all. But he just looks like a weird plant man.
I will say, this does look a lot better than the John Glover version that we saw in Batman and Robin, where he was the guy who created Bane and Poison Ivy. Somehow, he was a much better Lionel Luthor. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for this movie as a fan of the Batman the Animated Series. As a person who likes good movies, I'm kind of neutral on it.
Yeah, I might watch it. I don't know.
I'll watch it.
Yeah,
I guarantee I'll watch it.
I know you watch all of those animes. I've skipped a lot of them because ever since that, where was it? Justice League War, I think.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. These are not really designed for adults.
Yeah.
They're just very much simple things that they want kids to just be like, get involved and like these characters.
Yeah.
And they're not really for me anymore.
You're growing up, Carl.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to give them a chance, just hoping that they stay good. Not all of them do.
We'll see.
Some I'll just say this really quick, but like the last one I watched was Judas Contract, which was Teen Titans one. And Judas Contract is one of mine, and I think probably a lot of people's favorite Teen Titans story arcs, or a lot of people's kind of just a really iconic comic book story arc. And it was done fine, but it was just changed too much. Mm-hmm. It was still enjoyable, but there's so I mean there's good to be had in them, but
like Superman vs. the Elites was one that I really, really liked.
Yeah. All-Star Superman was good.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
But it was really, really close. They made sure it was really close to the comic.
And what's the Gods and Monsters one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I like that
Yeah.
Elseworld,
Yeah, the
interesting,
Elseworld.
different story.
Yeah, that was
Very
really cool that they did that. So there's a lot of good to be had from it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm gonna watch this no matter what. But.
All right. Last thing before we get into our special.
Yes, the review.
We don't have to talk too much about this, but Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets had another trailer.
Yeah.
I just bring it up briefly because this movie looked really interesting. I'm interested. I like the style of it a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say it looks interesting so much as it looks beautiful.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's really compelling. I still don't know enough about the story from the trailers to say that I'm in. But
True. Yeah, and sometimes I think it's fine because maybe when we get into our Wonder Woman review, knowing exactly what's going to happen in a movie based on the trailers is really not a good thing.
Yeah.
So that is good that while watching this trailer, I really don't know what it's about, and it just looks like this like crazy cross between like Fifth Element and Avatar and
a whole bunch
all
of stuff.
kinds of other fantastic, wild like space adventures. And alien characters. I mean.
Yeah, and I will say like I'm one of the people where like I hate 3D. Like I don't like watching movies in 3D. Unless it's purposefully made for 3D, like Polar Express. Not a good movie. Super fun to watch in 3D. Jackass 3D, kind of just forgettable, but it was made for 3D. It was super
Avatar,
fun.
of course.
Avatar, yeah. Too long, but it looked great.
Right.
Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas.
Oh yeah.
That was super
that was
fun.
Good in 3D, yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 actually had a lot of great. It looked great in 3D. It's definitely worth seeing there.
Yeah.
And this movie, based on this trailer, there seems like a lot of really great sequences that makes it like a really worthwhile watch in 3D, and I'll probably go see this in 3D.
Yeah, I think this is an example of a movie that it's intended to be in 3D, whereas a lot of them are post-processed to also be in 3D. Mm-hmm. And I think that really shows because, it doesn't look like they're doing a lot of gags, but it looks like they're definitely using it in the filmmaking, where you can watch it in 2D and it'll be fine, but to actually have like the roller coaster effect.
Right, exactly.
That looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's none of that like jarring, like in your face, oh, there's something coming at you thing. It's more of that depth and being part of, feeling like you're in that experience and in that world.
Yeah.
Because it's 3D. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I will say the one thing, and I mentioned this while we were watching the trailer. Mm-hmm. One thing that really kind of creeps me out about this trailer is because I watched the first trailer and then I didn't watch the other two, and then we just watched the second and third prior to this. And what really took me out of watching that first trailer was you have the two leads that are supposed to, they're like partners and also somewhat of a love interest. And it's Dane DeHaan or DeHane, however you want to say it. I don't know. I've never met him. And he's never been like, hi, Brian, I'm this. But for those who did not see, I put my hand out as if I was going to shake someone's hand. And then Cara Delevingne, who we all know. Delevingne, thank you. Sorry. From Suicide Squad, she played the Enchantress.
Yeah.
And what really creeps me out is they look like they should be playing twins. There's a serious brother sister.
They absolutely do.
It's so creepy. Like
I didn't think about it, but when you said it, I was like, "Yep,
yeah,
got it right."
That was my first. That was my first thought when I watched the first trailer. Like, because I'm like, okay, I get it. They're brother and sister. This brilliant casting, and then there's like a thing where like she's like, like they're on like a beach world or like part of like a space station where like they're on a beach and like she's in a bathing suit and like just like grabs her and brings her in close, and I was like, that's weird. Oh, they're not brother and sister. This is, oh, I can't do that. Oh, that's not right.
Yeah, definitely.
So
they are my big concern as well for this movie because Cara Delevingne has not proved herself to be a good actress. She's a model, not an actress. We saw that in Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever other movie she was in, but Dane DeHaan, who I actually do like as an actor, but I don't know that I like him as the leading man hero. I don't really think that's the role for him.
No, I think, I mean, I really enjoyed him in Chronicle. I think, even though the movie wasn't great, I liked him in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Theory of Everything. Was it? Cure for Wellness.
Cure for Wellness.
Theory of Everything. That's some
not
other
even
movie.
remotely
Not even
close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cure for Wellness.
Yeah.
Really, really bizarre movie.
Yeah.
But he was good in it.
Yeah.
I liked him. He actually helped me want to keep watching the movie because
He was just like rubbing your shoulders while you're sitting there.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Carl, you can do this, man. The next scene's it's gonna be really good. Just keep on watching,
yeah,
dude.
because he would just be in a random theater somewhere.
Yeah.
He's not doing that much.
Would have put it past. But yeah, so I mean, I hope it does well because, you know, I like, from what I've seen, I like him. I think the movie looks really fun.
Yeah.
You know, but
There's that superhero-ish element where it looks like their suits maybe gives them enhanced strength and ability. And there's that one cool shot where he's like running across something and he's got this gun that he's shooting into the air that's making these little platforms like of energy that he's
really
leaping across. I'm like, yeah, all these cool gadgets and things, you know, that's gonna make it a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's based off a comic or a graphic novel that I've never read. I guess goes back to 1967. And, you know, as I've previously stated, like I love time travel stuff, and that's apparently a relatively big element in the comics. I don't know. It doesn't look like they're bringing it into the movie too much from what we've seen.
Yeah, I don't
but
get that idea.
I also don't really know a whole lot about the story of the from the trailer. So
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah,
All right.
it's definitely worth checking out.
Time for our special event.
Yes.
I like to call it our crossover event because
Yeah.
the thing in comics is a reference.
Yeah.
They do crossover events. This is crossovering between crossovering. This is
crossing over.
Yeah, right. We're doing ranking of movie villains from all comic book movies. Well, specifically
somewhat recent.
Yeah, so we have some rules to where they're coming from. I guess briefly I'll just say that we're going to do everything that includes all the MCU, the DCEU, the Dark Knight trilogy, all the Spider-Man movies, and the core X-Men movies. We're going to leave out Logan and actually the Wolverines. We're going to leave out the Wolverines and Deadpool as well.
Yeah,
and anything predating all that, like, you know, Chris v Superman and all the old Batmans, we're leaving all that out.
Yeah, and then also this is going to be on the primary villains, not like the henchman villains, because once you get into the X-Men, then you're spending 2 hours per movie just trying to explain who all the Morlocks are and all that. So,
And so our ranking system here, we're going to rank each villain based on 3 categories. We have appearance, personality, and threat. Appearance is going to include how they look, you know, of course, the costume and the actor, how the casting was, how much he looks like this character, or embodies the character. Well, that's going to play into personality. You know, how interesting he was, how good was the actor's portrayal.
Yeah.
You know, threat level would be, you know, how dangerous the character was, and really in the context of the movie or towards the hero or the world in that story. And we'll have an overall score. We've got 35 villains here.
Yep.
We'll be breaking up this ranking into 3 parts. Today's episode we'll be doing villains number 35 through 21. You can catch the rest of it in the next 2 episodes. We don't know each other's lists right now, so this will be fun to see how things pan out. Where our rankings, I think there's gonna be a lot of surprises.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was telling Carl, I think I surprised myself with some of these, where like when I was done, like I was looking at the ranks and I was like, really, I thought that person was better. Okay. Well, so I guess what I find most compelling on the screen doesn't really like personally compare to how I would rank them. So
yeah, man, I
learned a lot about myself.
Yeah, my approach was slightly different in that once I ranked them all based on these stats of appearance, personality, and threat, I did look at where people landed, and there were a couple I moved around just because I felt that that villain should have been higher. So maybe, you know, my idea of where I ranked those stats didn't quite add up to what they should have been. Of course, we don't need to put in the scores, but, you know, it adds up. You know, everything's out of 10, so it's a scale of 1 to 10 for each of these. So it comes out at overall 30 is the max for any character. So let's begin. 35. Right.
Yep.
Who do you got at the bottom of your list?
I have Justin Hammer.
Justin Hammer. Okay.
Yeah.
I had Boulevard Trask.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's a little higher up on my list, but yeah, Justin Hammer, he was just kind of there.
Yeah.
He was like, he was just, I mean, he was just kind of obnoxious, but he wasn't really a threat. You know, he was kind of like supposed to be, you know, somewhat comic relief for the movie. The thing that I liked the best about him was Sam Rockwell.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I really liked what they were doing with him. I liked that they got a younger guy to play him as opposed to the old guy that they had in the comics. You know, so he was more of an analog for Tony Stark. But yeah, he got an 11.
Yeah, I'll talk
me.
more about him. From me, he didn't rank too high. Also,
Yeah.
Bolivar Trask for me. I mean, he ranks so low because he's just not in the movie a lot. He doesn't do a lot. He's not interesting. You know, Peter Dinklage is fine for the role, but doesn't stand out in any way. He doesn't. I don't feel like he plays into the movie as a threat in any way. So yeah, I mean, total throwaway, just villain for a movie that is.
You're going to be so
Already.
surprised when you see where I have him on my list. Because I just checked, and it is so much higher than I thought.
Maybe you'll rethink.
No, I'm sticking with it because I remember my thoughts on it. And yeah.
So, and if we want to go into any of the stats, maybe if it's important, why we made a decision, we'll go into it. But these lower characters, we'll move on.
Yeah, I'd say probably just top 10 for the stats. Maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
Or yeah, unless there's something interesting. But 34, Lex Luthor for me from Batman vs Superman.
Yeah. I have Zemo.
Zemo, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. We ranked different line that. Okay, so Lex Luthor, I mean, obviously, you know, Jesse Eisenberg, a good actor in a lot of roles, but for this role, just not right at all. The appearance for him, the way he, you know, the way they made him look, his weird, odd, twitchy personality just doesn't work. And his plan is stupid. He's not. He doesn't present a good challenge at all in the movie as the villain of the movie.
Yeah. He ranked a little higher for me, but yeah, Zemo, you know, kind of similar thoughts to what you had about Bolivar Trask, where like he was a little bit of an immediate threat, but he was just kind of there. Like there was really nothing in depth or engaging about the character. I didn't care about the casting, really. He, you know, and like he had the whole, like, I get he had the whole vendetta thing, but he wasn't in the whole. He was able to start a lot of trouble, but overall he wasn't much of a threat.
Okay,
you know,
I have a very different opinion on this one. We'll get to. I'll you know, I guess what we'll do is.
Yeah.
We'll talk about each of our opinion on each of the characters. Yeah. Anything else on that one?
No, I mean, just I just found him really lacking.
All right, we'll get to it. That next one is what, 33?
Yeah.
Do you want to go?
I had Doomsday.
Doomsday. Okay. Pretty close.
Yeah.
I have Enchantress.
Okay. Yeah. I still don't understand.
Thoughts on Doomsday?
My thoughts on Doomsday. I mean, like casting, I gave him a 1 because I'm like, it's CGI, so.
Yeah, right.
I'm like,
appearance. It's not just casting.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, you know, the appearance. I've seen better out of video games.
Yeah, not good.
You know, like low poly video games too. I'm not talking about the PS4. Like, it's just it just wasn't interesting. It wasn't compelling. The whole threat was completely artificial. And I don't even mean the fact that he was made by Lex Luthor, which I thought was stupid. The fact that all they had to do to defeat him was give Wonder Woman the spear.
Right.
All they had to do.
And there would be no trouble with it.
Yeah.
Superman would be fine.
They would have killed him. Superman would have been fine. They would have been like, hey guys, let's go get burgers. We're totally cool.
Right.
It wasn't much of a threat.
And after seeing the Wonder Woman movie now, I'm like, well, Wonder Woman probably would have elected herself to do that.
She would have been fighting to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, and big reason why that happened in the movie is because Wonder Woman and Superman never talked to each other.
Yeah.
Not once.
Yeah.
So I had Enchantress.
Okay.
And Boy, I wanted her to be lower, and she's almost at the bottom, but she is a really terrible villain. She's personality is almost non-existent at times. Her appearance is like, for me, I gave her a 5 on appearance because it's like up and down. Like her original look, that like grungy, dirty looking, awesome. Yeah. The other look with her like the weird like belly dancing, like headdress, like bright look, I'm like, this is garbage. Why did they should have looked at that immediately and say, no, we can't use that at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Tourette, I mean, I don't know, she wasn't interesting as a plot device, just generic awfulness.
Yeah.
All right, 32, I've got Malekith from Thor 2.
Okay. Yeah, he's not much higher on my list. I had Aldrich Killian.
All right. Yeah. So Malekith, I mean, as far as the MCU villains go, he's definitely by far the worst. The actor they played, I don't even know who he is.
It was Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah, he doesn't stand out. I mean, the costume is fine. It's nothing terrible. It's just nothing interesting. He doesn't have a personality that's very interesting. I don't really know what he was like as a character by watching the movie. He's just the antagonist, and you know, he's got just a generic plot to take over the world, so not totally interesting. Thor's more powerful than him, it felt to me. I didn't think it was difficult for Thor to defeat him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Aldrich Killian. He did. I mean, like, appearance, like, he was ranked pretty low, just because he was a dude.
Yeah, that's one of the things. When it comes to appearance in this, like when you're just a dude, like it's hard to rank that.
Personality. I mean, he was kind of a tool, but overall, I mean, I thought the portrayal was fine, but it was average at best. Mm-hmm. You know, it didn't really do anything for me. I think the reason why he scored as high as he did with me, and mind you, he's like in the bottom 5, is because, you know, he had that AIM think tank where he created the Mandarin. So he was somewhat of a global threat, but one that was relatively easily taken care of, you know, by one person. So, you know, it was an immediate threat to Tony Stark, and, you know, he did attack him, and he did have, you know, his own kind of private military, and it could have affected the world on a whole, but it really didn't. Mm-hmm. So he scored really high on threat, but overall just...
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty low. Like,
all right, let's move on to 31.
Okay.
What do you got there?
I have Whiplash.
I have Doomsday.
Okay.
So Doomsday, obviously, same things really. He's an ugly-looking character. Yeah. I mean, it could be worse. So I didn't give him like total 0 marks on appearance, because that's basically is what Doomsday looks like. It's just not the greatest version, the greatest look of it, you know.
Yeah.
You know, obviously personality-wise, and this character has no personality, doesn't talk, he does nothing interesting at all. So that stat-wise, I gave him a 0 on personality, absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And I gave him all the points on, you know, on threat level, because as dumb as the threat was, like, yeah, he killed Superman. You know, he was a huge threat. He was a huge problem for them to deal with. He was really powerful.
Yeah.
But again, there's such a bad character, just so uninteresting, because the fight wasn't even good.
Yeah.
But he was threatening.
What score did you give him for threat?
I gave him a 9, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I gave him a 6. Yeah. Because he was a big threat to, like, the characters, but not to the world as a whole. Like, I think, like, if he was let loose, he could do a lot of damage, but it would take a long time for him to kill everyone.
Yeah.
You know, I think Oceans would be a real problem for him. So let's say he was probably a big threat to, like, the Americas, but...
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. I mean, he should have killed every one of them, potentially. He would have.
Yeah.
If Superman, or if this spear didn't exist, by the way, he'd have killed all of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So you had...
I had Whiplash.
All right, that's pretty low for Whiplash, I'm going to say.
Yeah, see, I thought the casting was fine.
Yeah.
You know, I thought what Mickey Rourke did with it was cool. You know, it did kind of creep me out the whole time that he just looked, like, oily, you know, and, like, greasy, but you know, it played into making me not like the character, and that was fine. I never really got much personality out of him. He was just kind of there. He was just like, I don't like this guy because his dad stole something from my dad, and so now I'm gonna hit him with robot whips. So
I liked him significantly more than that. So I'll talk about that later.
And then as a threat as a whole, he was taken out relatively easily. He took over the drones, which was cool and could cause a threat, which I think is why I gave him as high as I did. But I don't know, I feel like they could have done a lot more with the character, but I don't think I would have done Whiplash in the movie to begin with. But
yeah, I mean, a lot of weird small Iron Man villains, so it's hard to really make them great. But
I think a big thing with this is, and not to interrupt, the big thing with this is just that Marvel's not that great. I don't think Marvel's really that great at villains.
As far as comics go, like where they come from.
Well, no, I mean, in the movies, I don't really find many of the villains really compelling.
All right. Well, but
yeah,
I'll tell you what I think of some of these characters later for that one. The next one is 30.
Yep.
I have the Lizard.
Line 30 or so 29?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I just want to make sure.
I adjusted mine, so.
Okay. Wait.
Well, you just did Whiplash.
Well, okay, so I have Abomination.
Who's above Whiplash?
It's got very confusing. Sorry. So yeah, I had Abomination.
Abomination, really? That's disheartening for me. All right. So
I was surprised that I didn't have Abomination right next to Doomsday.
Really? But
they were exactly the same.
No, not at all the same. Go ahead. You tell me about Abomination, okay?
I think the whole thing that got me with about the Abomination was what's his name? The guy who turned himself into the Abomination. Why am I forgetting his name?
Oh, good lord. It's hard. I'm not. I'll look that up while you're talking about it.
But like I thought. Again, like for the Abomination, himself. Again, it's like a CGI thing, and and it's just like
Blonsky, Emil Blonsky.
Yeah, that's what Blonsky.
But you got to include that because that's part of the character. That's the villain.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it was just kind of like a petty thing. Like, I'm getting old and I miss being as strong and fast as I used to be. And there's this giant green thing. I want to be that. Let me be that. I'm gonna fight that thing because I want to be that. Like, that's really all it came down. It's like a personal story, but it's also fairly petty. And like I think the casting for Blonsky was good. As soon as he turns into the Abomination, like I completely
real good. I like him a lot.
I forget about all of that, and then I think a big thing that takes away from that is I think the smarter route that they could have gone with it, and I don't know if they did it in the comics at that point in time, is Red Hulk. I think it would have made a lot more sense for it to be Thunderbolt Thunderbolt Ross, and have him turn into the Red Hulk and have him fight the Hulk. I think that would have been a smarter route.
All right.
So yeah, I don't know. It just didn't really do that much for me, and I thought the threat was relatively low because you're not gonna his strength was based off of the super soldier serum, where the Hulk's strength is based off of the rage. So there's no way he's going to beat him, because if he punches the Hulk more and he just makes the Hulk madder, he's going to get stronger.
It was also because of the experimentation with Hulk's blood by, what's his name, the leader guy, whatever that character was, Mr. Blue, was he, or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a name. But anyway, it wasn't just super soldier serum.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's essentially...
It was a mix. That's why I thought his power level was pretty threatening and good.
Yeah, but I think there was they never showed that there was anything but a limit to it. It just showed that when he turned into the Abomination, that's how strong he was. Whereas the Hulk will get progressively stronger.
Yeah, well, that's why the Hulk always wins.
Yeah.
So
which is why he wasn't that much of a threat.
All right.
I gave him a 5 because I thought it was like an average threat.
Okay.
Which is pretty, but it's also on a scale. Like, if he was against Captain America, the threat would have been like a 9.
Sure. Okay.
But because he's going against the Hulk,
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. I had the Lizard from Amazing Spider-Man, who the actor was fine, but again, nothing great. The look of the Lizard I really didn't like in that movie. He was like, his head was very odd looking. It was more like Komodo dragon. Is that what I'm thinking in a way?
Which is a lizard.
Yes, but I don't know. I wanted him to look more humanoid looking lizard, like you saw in the comics, the way he was drawn.
Well, I think that comes down to the artist interpretation, because the original look of the lizard was ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't necessarily mean like human. Well, he's a mix either way, but I just didn't like this particular portrayal of this CG look of him. He was just a generic CG looking lizardy guy, and it didn't strike me as cool as some of the comic book art did for that character.
Yeah.
And
I would. Well, I guess I'll go into more when I get to the lizard, but like I would probably say more so. I would have liked him more so the look of the Spider-Man the animated series, the one from the 90s.
Okay,
I really like that look.
Yeah.
But
and his plot was kind of silly. He was going to turn all the people into lizards, and Spider-Man didn't seem to have too difficult of a time fighting him. Yeah, this guy's stronger than him, I guess. Whatever. Yeah. I don't know. It just the action, also the action sequences in his fighting in that movie was not good. I never found that to be a fun, or an entertaining action sequence with them. Just didn't care.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. On the 29, I have Electro.
Okay.
Maybe Spider-Man 2.
I had Lex Luthor.
Lex Luthor, okay.
Batman vs Superman.
All right. Ranked a little higher for you.
Yeah. I'm actually interested to see if we're ever going to get to a point where we have somebody on the same line.
It could happen.
Yeah.
Electro was bad. I mean, he looks cool. I actually liked the look of him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie Foxx was fine for the casting, but the personality they gave him was so off-putting. I couldn't stand it. Personality I ranked really bad for him. I gave him a 2.
Wait.
Electro?
I think I skipped one, dude.
Oh.
Because I have Electro as like 4th on the list, like from the bottom.
Oh. Well then. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where I had Malik at the 32. You screwed up, Brian.
I screwed up.
Ruined everything.
Gosh darn it.
Damn it, Brian.
Okay. Starting... Oh, no. No, I mean, it's essentially, essentially it's going to...
Oh, so you had him really...
I had him really
lower than I did. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is so bad. I mean, I can't stand his, like, pathetic, like, obsessive, like, I love Spider-Man, like, personality thing that was happening, and he's such a loser. Nobody likes him, but he's supposed to be a genius. I'm like, oh, God, I can't take this character. It's cartoonish.
Yeah,
and like,
Jamie Foxx was bad casting. I don't think they should have given it to a comedian.
Well, Jamie Foxx played some dramatic roles pretty well.
Yeah, but I think his take on it was like, this is a comic, so I'm gonna do it really cartoony and
yeah. I mean, like, I don't think it was the casting's fault. I think it was just the version of the character they went with. It was really bad.
Yeah.
And his his powers were good. He looked cool. He seemed like he could do a lot of damage to Spider-Man, but ultimately, he just wasn't that tough of a villain to go against. It wasn't that interesting, compelling in any way.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, when your villain can be taken out by a bucket of water.
Yeah.
And like when you're tied with the Wicked Witch of the West.
So that was 29 for me.
Okay. See, that's where it threw off, because I'm also on line 29, but I still have that first line of the name, movie, rank, and all that.
Okay.
So wait.
Get rid of the first line, Ryan. Help yourself out. Just delete that, because we're gonna run into trouble here.
Okay. So I'm on. Okay, so I'm on line 28. So do I do?
Oh, you had Abomination. Okay, Lex Luthor was that. Okay, so let's just move on. You had Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
On this one.
Okay. Right. Yeah. So I had Lex Luthor on this one. So wait.
No, that's your next one. All right. So we'll go to the next one. 28 for you is Lex Luthor.
Yep.
For me, it's Apocalypse.
Okay.
Go on, Lex Luthor.
Yeah, Lex Luthor. I mean, it's a lot of the stuff that you said. Like, the casting didn't make any sense. He wasn't really that interesting or compelling. I think the only reason why he ranked as high as he did is because of his wealth and his obsession, he could be a global threat. Because he did have access to all the stuff from the governments and the United Nations and stuff like that, where they allowed him access to the alien tech.
Yeah, to the alien tech.
You know, I think that's what made him.
Now, what he did with it was ridiculous.
Well, yeah, what he did with it was ridiculous, but I think the threat of what he was able to do is what made him higher. But as a villain, he could have been on the Adam West Batman series. Like, he was really dopey and cartoony and super creepy with that whole Jolly Rancher thing.
Oh, that was the worst scene in the entire movie.
That made me squirm. Like, that I did not feel right.
I don't understand who wrote that scene or filmed that scene and was like, yeah, that's good. That's how people act. That's things that happen in real life.
That's
Oh,
it was
all right, so I had Apocalypse. Apocalypse, man. He did not look good. His costume was like, at times it was fine. There was cool things about it, but overall, like, it was kind of a joke. It didn't look right at all.
Yeah.
The coloring was strange. His face looked weird. I liked Oscar Isaac. He's a good actor, but in this role, I don't think he had a lot to do. They didn't give him any really good character moments to go off of. As a threat, I mean, his powers were pretty cool at times. He was pretty dangerous, but in the end, it came down to, like, the X-Men are just really powerful. They overcame him. And, of course, you had Jean Grey using her random Phoenix Force nonsense to win. But I don't need to say too much about him. Moving on to 27, I have Justin Hammer.
Okay, I have Malekith.
Malekith? Like, why can't put Malekith is so high for you?
I think a lot
Please
of these.
Tell me what you liked about Malekith that put him up.
Almost nothing. No, a lot of it comes down. Like I said, this isn't about the characters that I like. This is my view of them in the movie based on the categories.
Okay.
If this was based off of, like, what I liked, I think a lot of ours would probably align more.
Well, your opinion goes into each of these categories here, these rankings. You're like, nope, it doesn't. It's purely subjective. It's purely objective.
Yeah, I tried to see. Okay, when I did this, like, I ranked them, and I'm like, no, this is purely what I thought at the time. I understand my qualifications, so this is why I'm sticking to it. Because I might not actually look at, like, the character, like, the appearance and all that for, like, why I like, the character.
Okay.
But for Malekith, I thought casting Christopher Eccleston for for a role that needs to be intense but somewhat just like stoic. I thought it's really smart casting. So I kind of like put that as average. Personality was like a 3. It was just like nothing. There was nothing there. Yeah. And the threat.
That's what I had, 3 in personality.
Yeah, nice. The threat I put as like a 6, where I'm like, it's an above average threat. It's affecting the multiverse, but Thor is able to take him out relatively easily because, it's a god fighting, it's like an alien fighting a god.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a threat to the world, but not to, the protagonist. So,
yeah.
So I thought he was relatively weak.
Where was that? Okay, I had Justin Hammer.
Okay.
He ranked a bit higher for me because, like Sam Rockwell's portrayal. I thought he was kind of fun in the movie, like, as this kind of annoying, like, guy that you just want to hate, but he's like a pest, and he has money. He is a problem in ways for Iron Man as far as a competitor in business, and what transpired in the movie with him having Whiplash working for him and making those drums could have been a problem for Tony Stark. As far as business-wise, he didn't want... he's trying to fight against the whole, proliferation of these type of weapons.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Justin Hammer is like, no, everyone gets an Iron Man suit or something,
Yeah.
or drones,
Yeah.
an equivalent in drones. So like that is a big problem. Not a huge problem because of course Tony Stark's just better and he can stop it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed him. Like I wouldn't mind seeing him come back in some respect another way too.
Yeah.
Like his personality was interesting at times. Like I said, he had that depth of like annoyance, but entertaining, like the kind of creeper dude that you don't want to like, but like you get his character. He makes sense.
Yeah, I think it would be fun. The best way that I would like to see him come back is, he's in prison with the dude who's pretending to be the Mandarin, Ben Kingsley's character. I think it would be really fun if like, they do like one of those like one shots where, it's like the 5-10 minute short. And it's just like Justin Hammer trying to convince him like we should team up because he's just not getting the fact that he's not actually like the terrorist leader.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah,
we got a lot to go through here. 26.
26. I had William Stryker from X-Men 2.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. I have Scarecrow.
Dude, we are so close. You'll see why in a second.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, Stryker. I really liked the casting. I thought, he was a really compelling character. I liked, the borderline like father-son vibe that he had with Wolverine. I thought that was cool. I thought it brought him up a little above average, but the threat overall was really low. He was just a guy. He was somewhat well connected, but he wasn't very compelling. He wasn't able to, change minds.
Okay. I'm surprised. I have a very different take on his threat level on that.
Because I think like the stuff that he tried to do, he failed.
Well, ultimately, pretty much everyone fails, so that's tough on this.
Yeah,
the heroes usually prevail.
Yeah, but I think how easily he failed, really dropped it down because what he was doing with Cerebro could have been like this huge thing, but it was really quickly just like, yeah, no, you're done.
Yeah. All right.
But it was also one of the things where he was more so like he wasn't able to do like any of the stuff himself. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So I have Scarecrow, and he's fine. He's very average. There's no real costume at times, although I gave him a decent score on appearance because I did like the effect when he used
he had the
fear gas, and when he had the mask, and it looked really cool at times. So like there was that. Cillian Murphy as him was fine. I don't really like him that much. He's okay.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a ton. He's not like a huge presence in the movie, so his personality kind of suffers and threat.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a problem, but Batman could easily beat this guy. Once he gets over the fear thing, it's over.
Yeah.
It wasn't really that big of a deal.
Yeah.
The ultimate plot really wasn't even his anyway in the movie. He was kind of like a pawn. He's sort of secondary, but
yeah.
Anyway.
He does kind of border on henchman.
Yeah. Yeah, he's debatable.
Yeah.
Next, 25.
25. I have Scarecrow.
Oh, okay. So we're pretty close on that.
We're pretty
really
close.
I had Obadiah Stane
Okay.
from Iron Man 1.
All right. Yeah, Scarecrow, it's a lot of the stuff that you said. Like, I liked the Cillian Murphy cast. I liked the mask that they gave him. I liked the evolution that they gave his costume toward the end, like when you see him riding on the horse with the straitjacket with like the arms loose.
That was neat looking. Yeah.
That was really kind of cool.
Yeah, again, that's why I gave him some points for appearance.
Yeah. So I mean, but like you said, dude, like overall threat was pretty low because apparently there's a really easy cure to be found for the spear toxin that Lucius Fox can like whip up in a couple hours. So.
Mm-hmm. So I had Obadiah Stane.
Okay.
And see, here's where I want to mention sort of the appearance thing. Like when it comes to guys who are just regular dudes for the most part. And yeah, he had the suit later, but for the most part, he's just a guy in a suit.
Yeah.
Generally, I think like, all right, 5, right? Because you can't say it's bad because that's what he is. You can't say it's good because it's just a guy in a suit. But I gave him a 6 because casting wise, like Jeff Bridges, I really like Jeff Bridges, and I think he really stood out. Just his look as that character, and of course the suit was fine. It wasn't anything amazing, but it was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I liked him. I thought it was His personality wise, like I like that he was like friendly with Tony Stark, and he never bought on, never thought that he was a bad guy at first, and I really believe that. Like in the movie, you kind of course figured out he was the bad guy pretty quickly, but for Tony Stark, it didn't make sense for him to catch on to that so quickly because of the way he acted. And he was an intimidating guy, you know, in presence as an acting wise. So I did like him fairly well. But threat-wise, like his suit, this is where he lost a lot of points. I think I gave him a 3 as far as threat level because his suit was just not threatening. It was kind of a joke. I mean, it was physically more powerful, but like he didn't give it any time to develop. He just kind of jumps in it, doesn't know what he's doing. So like that's the weaker part of the movie, but it was fine enough as an ending, you know, conflict, but it wasn't super threatening in any way. All right, next one. 24.
Okay.
I have Aldrich Killian.
All right. I have Green Goblin from the first Spider-Man.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm surprised he ranks so low for you. I'll do Aldrich Killian first.
I think you're going to be really surprised
at your top. Yeah, I think we're both going to be surprised at our top ones.
Yeah.
Aldrich Killian, I gave him a little higher than Stain because this is the bad guy for Iron Man 3. Appearance is similar, but I did like the effect. When he used his powers, that sort of glowy like burn on the inside was kind of neat. I like that, and the part where he breathes fire was really cool. I just enjoyed that a lot.
That was a cool scene. Because wasn't that the scene with like Rhodey, where like he breathes fire and Rhodey's just like, okay, no, I'm good. You want the suit? Yeah, that was fun.
So I liked the casting. He's always good. What's his name?
Guy Pearce.
Guy Pearce is always good.
Yeah.
Threat, you know, he was pretty dangerous because I liked the way that instead of him being a guy in a suit, he was a threat to Iron Man because he could melt his suit. You know, he had physical strength and ability like that. The way they even like try to take him out was cool with Iron Man putting the armor on him and blowing it up and that. To be honest though, that should have killed him. I wish that did kill him but part of his ability, his extremist thing with Pepper had it, and she fights him off, and that was kind of neat to see that. I just thought it was sort of flipped. It would have been better, but
well, I mean, I still think that his powers was what ranked him so low because it wasn't like his powers; it was shared powers. Like you, like
sure,
it was like
he wasn't the only
team.
one.
Yeah.
They all had that same power, but like that's and that's why I don't rank him too high.
Yeah,
you know, I thought he was fine. He wasn't amazing, but he was decent enough. You know.
Yeah. Green Goblin. I really liked Willem Dafoe as, as a character. I thought, I think he's really intense. I think he's got a certain charm to him, and he's charismatic. And I think he was able to, play the two almost three characters. Him is Norman Osborn, and then Norman Osborn post the treatment, I guess you want to call it.
Yeah, whatever it was.
And then Green Goblin, which all three are slightly different, and I think it's noticeably different. And I think he did a really good job playing that. I think for what they were doing in the universe, I thought, even though I don't love the entire look of the suit, I think it definitely fits with what they were doing with it. It made a lot of sense within the movie. I still think that the best route that they could have gone was just paint his face green, because let's face it, he looks like the Green Goblin without a mask.
Yeah, for sure.
But threat, I think he was really low. He was just, he killed a handful of people, but I don't think he was, he was basically like ousted from his company, and he didn't really have like the reach. Spider-Man was, as soon as Spider-Man's biggest threat against him was like his humanity, where he's like, I don't want to take someone out, but he was like, well, I'm gonna have to let you kill yourself. So I don't think it was really that much of a threat in the long run. Okay.
Yeah, Green Goblin's gonna rank very differently for me.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next one. Where were we? 23.
Yep.
I have Ra's al Ghul from Batman Begins.
I have Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier. Okay. Ra's al Ghul for me. I mean, appearance-wise, yeah, he's just a guy.
Yep.
But Liam Neeson's a good actor. I do like him. I think he was a good choice for the character. Maybe not the best choice.
Yeah.
Personality wise, he's this is just very average for me also because I like him. But he doesn't really do a lot in the movie. He doesn't have a lot. A lot of times in the movie he's training him. He's sort of hiding as the villain.
Yeah.
So like there is that good aspect. I do like that.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as threat go, like his plan was, just a not overall that interesting. Threatening wise, like he's supposed to be a good fighter, but like we didn't get a good confrontation with him and Batman, so we never got to see that fight go down. So I don't know. I don't have too much to say about him. We can move on.
Yeah. Winter Soldier, I think he ranked this high because I thought Sebastian Stan looked great as him. Like he got a 9 for that for me. He arm and the
I gave him
suit.
the same actually 9 on appearance.
For appearance looked incredible. Like it's right off the book, the mask and even without the mask, I was thrilled with it. Like there's very little that they could have done to make it better. But then it really drops off pretty steeply where like personality as the Winter Soldier, not Bucky, it's just Winter Soldier.
Right.
Like there's very little personality there. The portrayal is what brought it up. Basically like the mindless machine that was a little conflicted, I thought was really compelling and interesting.
Yeah.
And the little bit of
stuff there,
the little bit of the Bucky pushing through, I thought was really great with the portrayal. But then, threat was like almost nothing. It was just, he got like a 3. It was really low. So.
I thought differently about that. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
When I speak about him, he's significantly not too much higher.
Yeah.
All right, we've got, where are we? Oh boy, 22. I have Sandman. Spider-Man 3.
I have Sebastian Shaw.
Okay. Sandman is I give him really high ranks for appearance because he is dead on. Like that's Sandman from the comics. That generic striped shirt.
Yeah.
That's him. The effect for the sand looks really awesome. Yeah. Anytime he did something with the sand, whether getting punched a hole through him or like forming up something in his hand, so cool, really awesome.
I can't disagree. I gave him a 9.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I gave him a 9. Yeah, awesome. Personality wise, like that's where he kind of lacks for me. Like he just, like I get his sort of story with his daughter and the criminal thing, but the ham-fisted way they threw him into Spider-Man's origin it's sort of part of his personality, but like the actor they chose for him is fine, but he doesn't really get a lot of chances to shine in this movie.
Yeah.
And as a threat, he's a fine threat. Like he's threatening and all, but he sort of just kind of gives up in the end, and he's not.
Yeah.
He isn't really there to, kill Spider-Man in a sense. I mean, because he gives up, like I said, in the end, but.
Yeah.
He is a physical threat, but that only gets it so far.
Yeah. No.
Plus, the weakness to water is kind of makes it easy for Spider-Man to defeat him at times if he needs to.
Yeah. Sebastian Shaw. Appearance was kind of low for me. He just looked like Kevin Bacon? I'm like, it's cool, but he just looks like a dude.
Yeah,
so
for the most part.
That was kind of low. Where he came up though was I really liked the portrayal that Kevin Bacon gave him. Like I've said in the past, like I think probably one of the most threatening and scariest things you can do with a villain is have them be a true believer in something, and just have that just have it be in their head that no, this is exactly what needs to happen. And just the whole unflinching thing, and I thought I think he did a really good job with that. The where he
I think that does rank into a lot of my higher ranked villains is their conviction and
and I thought his threat overall, he was kind of taken out, but relatively easily. With basically with the telepath taking over his mind, but. I think he was actually one of the really higher level mutants in the world.
He's very powerful, yeah.
Like, because the impression that I get is if he absorbed, like, if one day he just wanted to be like, I'm going to stand out in the sun and I'm going to absorb all of this radiation from the sun, like, and if he just lets go of that, he could. I have no doubt that he could just like ignite the atmosphere and just burn the world.
Yeah, potentially.
You know, and that's that's very much like the portrayal that they gave him. So that's why, he ranked where he did, because I didn't really care about the appearance, but a lot that they did with the character.
All right, 21.
All right.
What do you got?
I got Ozymandias from Watchmen.
Ozymandias. Okay. Mine's a bit higher. I have Alexander Pierce.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, he's significantly higher for me.
Yeah. Pierce, I mean, like, I like him, but appearance wise, he's just a guy, of course.
Yep.
Good actor, great actor, actually.
Yeah.
I gave him a lot of points for, not a lot, a good amount for personality, because again, great actor portrayal.
Mm-hmm.
Good, interesting character, but again, doesn't have a lot of scenes in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like, his plot. I mean, and as far as threat level goes, again, his plot to basically control the world with taking out threats before they erupt, is pretty dangerous. And had he not been stopped, type of thing, it would have been a huge problem. The potential for, that's another thing that I thought a lot about, the potential for their plots, because a lot of them, of course, can't succeed. But the potential for his plan and the way it was handled, the way he played it out was actually pretty damn threatening. And just sort of one of those, a lot of the Marvel movies, really, it's they sort of have that, in the end they finally find the way to stop them, but if they didn't, huge problems,
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I pretty much agree with everything you said about that. I just gave him higher numbers, but
okay.
Ozymandias, though, I think the casting was really good. I think, I really liked the look of the character. The portrayal I thought was really just kind of bland.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think a lot more could have been done with the portrayal, because somebody who's supposed to be the smartest person in the world, and the head of a corporation, I feel like he should have been a lot more charismatic and interesting, and he just wasn't. But the threat, though, the whole the squid thing that they were doing at the end.
Well, they didn't do the squid thing. That's the movie.
That's where you're wrong.
That's not the movie. That's the.
No, that's where you're wrong. If you watch the movie, the system that they're using is called the squid.
Oh.
It's like an acronym.
Okay.
I don't remember what the acronym is, but what I mean is him setting up the whole squid system where they're basically going to release the nuclear bombs with the Dr. Manhattan radiation to make it look like he was attacking the world, to bring them all together. I mean, that's a huge global threat where he's basically going to decimate the population of the.
So you gave him high ranks for that.
Oh yeah. I gave him an 8 for that.
Okay.
I
gave him actually higher, and I'll tell you why once I get to him. He's probably the first on the list that.
Spoilers.
Yeah. No, not number one. I mean, the first on the list that gets a higher rank for a specific reason. I'll get to.
Yeah.
Remember to join us next week for the second part of our crossover event, counting down villains number 20 through 11. All right, so we'll wrap this up really quick. Superhero's Journey you're listening to.
That's us.
Episode 4.
Yep.
I'm Carl Freeman.
I'm Brian Shores.
And please follow us on Twitter at Superhero Journey, no E in super. Give us some feedback via email at thesuperheroesjourney@gmail.com, where yours is plural, not possessive. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.